Hello everyone and welcome to Helix Cloud Games. My name is Richie and this is CloudQuest, a cloud gaming show where we take a deep dive into one particular topic. This week we're talking about, is it time for Stadia to launch a handheld? And joining me on this quest is Mr. Chris.
Hello Cloud people.
Hello Cloud people indeed. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our great shows go live, such as Sounds of Stadia podcast every single Monday on YouTube and podcast services. We break down the Stadia gaming news, followed by on a Tuesday we break down the PlayStation news in the clouds on YouTube and podcast services. Our weekly live streams, and get in your calendars guys, 1st of October will be our third year anniversary stream. We're going all day, we've got prizes, we've got podcasts, we've got gaming to do with you guys. It's going to be fantastic. Hope to see you there. So Chris, do you think Stadia should have a handheld?
I think I've utilised Stadia as a handheld for so long now. Many times on the podcast, I've referenced how many times I've jumped into my mobile phone and raised a Kishi combo and had a terrific time. Mostly, I'll be honest, in the last year, it's mostly been for FIFA and the arcade style games we've gotten from Atari, because they transcend so well to just more like mobility.
I can't get away with FIFA on my phone, you know. The size of the screen just feels wrong. I feel like I need a little bit more screen.
The trick is to use it like this close to your face.
Yeah, that's the problem. It becomes uncomfortable. Like
one of my favourite places to use it is when on an evening when wife's gone to sleep. I'm in the bed next to her and I just lay on my front, double stack of pillows underneath my armpits, like resting forward, and just like a kid of old, like resting like on your bed
when
reading
it's your bedtime.
Yeah, it was your bedtime. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to be upright. I've been on my feet all day, like that kind of deal. I'm just want to lay horizontally, face literally probably 20 centimeters from the screen, headphones in. I do sometimes wake her up with like the click 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 of the buttons.
When you score like a hat trick and you do a knee slide across the bed.
Well, you don't. You don't realise like. The buttons on the Razer Kishi in particular, the triggers, they do have a bit of a click to them. But then again, so does the Stadia controller. That's got quite a good click to some, especially the directional pad. But
yeah, the Stadia controller is very clicky. I find the Kishi's buttons a bit mushy and the triggers kind of weird, oddly springy.
Yeah, I do get that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in terms of like a handheld, I guess we're talking about a dedicated handheld, right? Yeah. It seems like the market is hungry for handhelds, and we've seen that in the last 5 odd years since the Nintendo Switch, and it's huge. What do you think? Do you think there's kind of a gap in the market for it?
You look at the Steam Deck and what that's doing, and there's also the Iron Neo, which is it's in a similar kind of vein to the Steam Deck. It's a basically portable PC dedicated designed for gaming, but can do other stuff as well.
Yeah, and
then you got things like the Kishi and the backbone turning like mobile phones into this kind of Switch-like format. Obviously, the Switch itself is
what's the
always
difference between a Switch Lite and a Switch Lite?
A Switch Lite is something that is like the Switch. The Switch Lite is basically not a Switch because it doesn't actually have the switching capability where you can play a handheld or docked. It's because it doesn't fit in the dock. I still don't get why Nintendo made that stupid decision.
Yeah, it's like
make it a form factor that fits in the dock. The dock itself is a glorified USB-C hub. Yeah, so all you need to do is create the format of the handheld to fit in the dock. But that's a side component.
My screen's actually got a few scratches on from the dock.
I've got like a weird sleeve over mine that's got like the Triforce on it. So actually, not only does it look cool, it actually acts as a bit of a barrier between the screen and the kind of plastic sticky out bits.
Yeah, I got my Switch secondhand, so it already came with a few scratches. It does have a screen protector on, to be fair, so I'm sure underneath that it's hopefully fine. But back to like the handheld thing. You've got Nintendo Switch absolutely selling gangbusters, millions upon millions of them being sold. Nintendo's projected forecast 20 more million units, I think, this year. Doing terrific stuff. And then, like
Valve
you said, the Steam Deck
can't make the Steam Deck quick enough.
Yep, Steam Deck's out there with its different versions from £349 all up to the 512 gigabyte version. That's like 560 odd, I think.
I'm still not a fan of the lower entry level because 64 gig of memory, but it's not an SSD. It's eMMC memory, which it's fine, but it feels
this
like
is the thing, isn't it? It's like it's
I
the
feel
problem
like
with handhelds.
if you go for the Steam Deck, you need to go for like the 256 gigabyte SSD at least, in my opinion.
And the biggest problem that's always kind of laboured on handheld is the power. You're trying to essentially get a console experience in the palm of your hand, and we've seen the rise of mobile phones that have like massively blown up the games industry in a whole different world. Like more people play games on mobile phones than they do consoles, just by nature of how many damn mobiles are in the world. And we're in this hybrid world now where you have Switch doing so well. You've got Steam Deck's popularity is huge, but they are still trying to compress that power into a small unit that is going to overheat. It's got a limited battery life.
It isn't designed for it.
It's not designed for it. It's no doubt got limited battery charge, so your gaming time is limited by loads of different factors. And the price, the sheer price of it, as you said, the Switch hasn't gone down in price since launch. The PlayStation 5's just gone up in price. The Steam Deck is starting at $349. And as people, our audience, our viewers and listeners, cloud gaming has alleviated so many of those boxes. And we know it works well on mobile phone, as we said with the Razer Kishi. So in terms of Google actually committing to some actual hardware, I think it's about time. I think it could be the next big push on for Stadia. We know we talk about the server blades and stuff, but when it comes to mobile dedicated gaming, I think what they've got under the hood at the moment actually is more than adequate for your mobile phone. We know 4K on screens is like limited to certain devices, but because of the sheer size, you're never going to get true 4K on a screen anyway. So I think what's under the hood now is prime for mobile cloud gaming.
The thing is, for me, if they were going to do it, I don't think Stadia should do it. I think Google should do it and do a device similar to the Steam Deck, but you can have it running Chrome OS. You could be the Pixel Deck or something. It's kind of a Steam Deck made by Google. It's using some of the technology that you put into the phone. It has some storage memory, but you can make that bigger focus on cloud gaming. And you don't necessarily have to have it dedicated to Stadia. I think if I was to buy a handheld device for cloud gaming, I don't think I want it locked to one platform.
Yeah, it'd be, again, Google's such an open platform anyway.
Yeah.
It's keep that going.
Arguably to the detriment at times, but in the other side, it's good for the consumer. So, I mean, Logitech have rumoured to have like a Switch-like handheld device coming out.
Yeah, it was leaked, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, which was one of the inspirations behind this episode. And it's like, something like that, I think I would like, because I've said before, we already said this episode, like, FIFA, I don't like the size of, even though I've got Pixel 4 XL, it's a fairly large phone. Yet the format of the screen, it's not big enough, in my opinion, for gaming, ideally. For arcadey stuff, it's fine. For platformers, you're fine. But anything where you need a bit of like more detail going on, or a bit more fast-paced, like it kind of suddenly feels a bit uncomfortable to use.
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed's like HUD display is going to look complicated because you've got all these little tiny icons that have been shrunken down to literally like the bottom corner of a 6-inch screen.
I played Humankind. I tried Humankind on my phone. Again, it's quite a large phone. It's bigger than average, and the UI did not scale well because there's no native UI scaling. It's a video feed. So I mean, Google could say you can work on making a bit more UI fixes in terms of direct touch. But I think something a bit bigger, and I like the idea of a dedicated device because of battery anxiety. I like to keep my phone, especially if you're traveling.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to keep the battery on your phone topped up. So if you want to play some games, it's like, do I play games on my phone and risk the battery situation, or do I just pull out some of the device that I've got in my backpack?
Yeah. And to kind of take it back around to what we were saying before about kind of things like that, like battery life and performance, it's always been limited because of the portability factor. I remember the Sony Xperia Play that came out like around 2010, 2008, something around that region. And it was basically a Sony Xperia device, but it had a slide-out PlayStation thing, and it came with Crash Bandicoot preloaded on it, the original Crash Bandicoot. And obviously that was emulating a PlayStation 1 game that had came out 15 years prior. So the tech was always behind, but with cloud gaming, we've alleviated that now, where you can run the AAA games, like the things that should in tradition, require a £400 box under your TV to power that hardware. A game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey would never run on just a mobile phone by today's standards. Even if you got the latest iPhone, the 14 that was just announced, Assassin's Creed Odyssey wouldn't run on it natively. It would have to be powered elsewhere.
It might.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably run, but like nowhere near what it should run at.
It's going to overheat as well because
that too, and your battery life
aren't exactly designed for good thermals.
It's because they're designed to be water resistant, and if you're making them water resistant, you'd lose
you always
the
have these
breathability.
trades off.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember thinking like that was always beholden to the hardware capabilities, and it was always going to be several generations behind, where cloud gaming now allows current gen and next gen to be on anything that's got a screen. Like I've played Google Stadia on like a shitty old Toshiba laptop that my company had, and it was probably about 8-year-old. The Wi-Fi card was probably terrible. The screen quality was poor, but it ran and it worked perfectly fine. I got it up and running within seconds, and it's little moments like that which make me think Google. We know they've got something magical on the hand. We know the technology works fine. What's the kind of next step in the business plan? We keep saying we've championed it for years, Richie, a roadmap, and we don't know what's happening with the game library because they like to stay hush hush on that. But with hardware, you do have to be iterative, and you saying you'd rather see it as a Google product, I think, is a good point, because Google have been making massive strides in their phone division with the Pixel range, and actually the Pixel 6 last year's series was their most successful to date, and they've seen a 380% increase across North American sales. Something like nearly 2 million Pixels have been sold. Pixel 7 is just about to come out later this year. And that just shows that Google know what to do. And I know ourselves and our audience have praised the Stadia controller many, many times of how good it looks. I love my Google Chromecast with TV, my hub stuff. So they make great tech. We know they can. And kind of looking at the Logitech stuff that was leaked, and we've seen similar things with like the Backbone and the Razer Kishi, it does make me think, why not just do it yourself?
Yeah,
like put some of that cool Google branding on it and like show me what you could see. So, Richie, what would you want to see out of a dedicated Google handheld, like minimum features?
When I was thinking about this episode, there was two ways I thought you could go. One, you could make almost like a version 2 of the controller, because I think there is room for improvement in the controller. I think it is the most comfortable controller on the market that I've held. The trigger's a bit too light, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I know some people don't like the clicky nature. I don't mind the clickiness of it, because once the game's audio's gone on, I don't even notice the clickiness. Yep. But I imagine if I sat on the couch next to someone, that might annoy them.
Trying to read a book.
Maybe you could do something like that. I know a lot of people call out for Bluetooth audio. As someone who owns Pixel Buds,
yep.
Get all your tech syncing Google. Although ultimately, I felt that should be held aside for now for version 2 of a controller. Mm-hmm. And for the time being, if you're going to do this device now, not like, say, in like a couple of years' time when you might be revamping the controller, just use the current hardware you've already got. Literally, take this controller and break it down. So you put take a Steam Deck or Switch style thing. So you got that basically a tablet in the middle with the controller either side. Cut your controller in half, effectively glue it onto either end, and job's good, and really.
And it's that it goes back again to the hardware doesn't need to be that great, because it's the cloud that powers the most of it. So if you approach this as a dedicated cloud device, you need minimum expectations, good Wi-Fi connection. Absolutely, needs to have the best Wi-Fi capabilities.
I argue the Switch would be the perfect cloud gaming console if it didn't have, first of all, Nintendo not ever going to let like non-Nintendo cloud stuff in, and also terrible Wi-Fi. I think even the network card, even if it's wired, isn't that great, which is obviously clearly a problem for cloud gaming, which is why Nintendo's cloud gaming sucks, in my opinion.
It does. So basic Wi-Fi, I think you need a really decent quality screen, because if you are promoting like the best fidelity and trying to OLED. Show off cloud,
doesn't need to be overkill. No. Don't need to go 4K. Just a solid 1080p OLED.
Yep, and I think a lot of that comes from the world we live in now with mobile phones. Is some of the screen quality you get on mobile devices now, like looking at any of the OLED range that's out there, it's absolutely gorgeous. So there's nothing to say you can't pick one of them up. Hell, use your Pixel screens. Use the same display you've got in your Pixels, and put it into this? Because I'm guessing they've got a working relationship with Samsung or someone who provides
probably,
them with their display.
It might be Samsung. I haven't checked. But
Samsung do most of them. Yeah.
Let's assume it's Samsung who's providing the displays.
Samsung and LG are the big players, and
they already have tablet displays. And all I'm saying is basically stick a 1080p OLED tablet display in there.
Mm-hmm. So
there will be one already available.
Yeah, absolutely. Price wise, what price range would you market this into? So bear in mind, you've pretty much gutted it of all processor and CPU other than your basic things.
Well, I'd have some stuff in there. It should be. I'd have a combination of like a Chromebook tablet plus, but more aimed at cloud gaming. Mm-hmm. So like a version of like Chrome OS or Android running it. So you'd have some basic stuff. So you could play some games, like take Play Store games. You could just be able to play any Play Store game, no bother. Yeah.
Well, that's the Leak Logitech one, isn't it? It looks like it's running on Android from the images, and it looks clean and it looks sharp.
That's kind of the concept I'm going for. I think you'd want to keep it probably sub 300.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think that if you're
because
trying
it's
to
not you can't be going head to head with the Steam Deck on this.
Yeah,
Steam Deck
runs,
the Steam Deck can run Windows. I can't remember if it's native Windows or native Linux, but it can actually run Windows, and it can play top end games natively at admittedly low resolutions and like graphic settings. You can't go one for one with that. Yeah. You need to be. This is an alternative if you're willing to go cloud gaming. Wi-Fi has to be absolutely on point though.
Yeah, and to kind of push that a bit further, you could also give yourself 2 SKUs and have one that's Wi-Fi only and one that's 5G compatible. Because let's face it, we're trying to push cloud gaming here at the moment. And I've said time and time again on the show, 4G and 5G network infrastructure across the planet is only going to get better. The networks and mobile carriers out there are always pushing to get better. They're not going to go back to 3G, 2G. 4G is good for cloud gaming. 5G is even better, and we see it in the UK. It's popping up. It's reaching about 40 to 50% capacity all over the place now. Don't know what it's like in the United States. I'm sure Europe, Scandinavia, they're probably well ahead of us. South Korea will be probably 6G by now. But in terms of the infrastructure of it, it's only going to get better, ladies and gentlemen. So if you put a product out there,
I wouldn't even have 2 SKUs. I'd just have 5G compatible, like out
just
the box.
Put it all into one.
Think about it. Like if you could just have this thing in your backpack. Let's say you're a commuter and you're traveling a lot on like train or bus and stuff. You could have this thing in your backpack that has probably better Wi-Fi than your phone, better networking than your phone, or maybe depends whether you've got 5G on your phone or not. You can just 5G. You could use it for things like YouTube or Netflix and stuff as well. This is kind of the concept I'd be going with. So this becomes a great multimedia device that is focused on cloud gaming, but it doesn't have to be 100% cloud gaming. So, and if you're getting this like significantly cheaper than the Steam Deck, I think there's a win to be had there.
I do think there's a win. I do think, though, it needs 2 SKUs purely because the 5G one will require some kind of mobile contract via a SIM card or a carrier plan.
I think Google
you don't get 5G for free.
Google might be able to waive that somehow.
No, they can't do it with the Pixels. I can't see. It's just one of those things where it has to run off the networks, and the networks are going to want a cut of something, and therefore that gets passed on.
It could be a subsidised plan then. Maybe
I mean, it wouldn't be that much because you don't need calls and texts and stuff. You just purely need internet connection. But with it being cloud gaming, you also want it to be the fastest. And I know networks now are trying to diverge away from calls and texts into different speed tiers. But again, without digressing too much into that, if anyone remembers, the PlayStation Vita did actually have a 3G version, which had a SIM card slot. Yeah. And of course, if you think about it, downloading games on 3G back in the day, how painful that probably used to be. 5G doesn't problem like that. You can download a gig in about 10 seconds on a decent 5G network, which means if you're streaming, we know that's more than adequate. Hell, we've done live streams on the show, Richie, when my internet shit the bed, and I've just hotspotted from my phone, and we've been able to run Stadia, run the stream to see it out rather than lose the feed. That shows you how good. And we don't live in a city; we live in like quite a small town, so it just shows you, and that's only going to get better with time. So I think 2 SKUs, one cheaper range, Wi-Fi only, one that's all bells and whistles. Maybe even have like the 5G one has the slightly better screen quality as well if you want to kind of premiumize one of them. Give it a carry case like the Steam Deck for the top tier.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you could do. I mean, the basic SKU for me, I'll be focusing on would be like, let's say we do put 5G in a higher SKU, but the basic tier will be your 1080p OLED as described. But maybe you want to do a smaller SKU. You do a light version that only has a 720p screen and it's not OLED, and maybe you condense it down and you get it down to maybe 150.
Yeah.
To buy, so it's like, okay, it's a significant saving, but obviously, it's one where it's like I can save the money, but I see where the money's going in terms of quality.
Yeah, completely. It's a great proposition, and again, if companies like Logitech are out there doing it, we know Backbone just announced a dedicated PlayStation variant for iPhones. No doubt an Android model will follow shortly. I'm very keen to see what that looks like. And we know behind the scenes, Xbox Cloud Gaming is getting really in on it. Obviously, Xbox and Microsoft don't really make phones anymore, but buy Windows phones. But they are trying to get it on every device and create that ecosystem. And as someone, as us and our audience know, that cloud gaming does just work. And I've used it on a multitude of devices across phones and tablets and laptops. And going forward, with it only improving and getting better, I would hate to think Google don't see this gap in the market where they have the tech, they have the infrastructure to make the tech with their Pixel range and their Chromebooks. Like, they make hardware. They literally make quality hardware and they sell millions of units. How someone up in head office isn't looking at this as an opportunity when Logitech are no doubt reaching out to them and going, are we able to put Stadia on this new Logitech handheld? And Google go, yeah, of course, it just runs in the cloud. So
it's literally got the Play Store on this handheld, so yes, the answer is yes. You should be able to just download it.
I mean, that's the ironic thing about the Logitech leaks is it has Play Store front and center, then Xbox, then Nvidia, then Xbox again, then Steam, then Chrome, then YouTube. It's almost as though they've put the Xbox One in twice to cover up a Stadia logo, which it just, you know what? If you don't want to make it yourself, partner with someone. Why could this be the Logitech Stadia?
Yeah, it could be. It could just be a partnership. The reason I'd go make yourself is because you've already put the effort in to develop a really good controller. So all the components of this controller are great. Just use them. You don't need to it's not reinventing the wheel. You're just effectively putting in different housing.
Imagine, Richie.
Yeah, the one cool idea I also came up with was imagine like the dream of the Switch is you're playing on your Switch, you get home, you stick it in the dock, bang, it's on the TV. What if you could just hit the cast button and then it appears on your TV, or just boots up Stadia for your TV, and then the device itself automatically recognises that and switches into bridge mode and just becomes a controller.
It's like the Wii U gamepad.
But
re-envisioned for the next century.
But not terrible.
That's it, Richie. You're thinking outside the box now. I love it.
But I'm just using features they already exist. You just build that in. That's a software thing. You just build that in. So when I cast from this device, it auto detects this device as a controller.
Genius.
That's it.
Yeah. Then
you
you've got
can then
another
just
controller.
continue playing without putting anything down. You're now just looking at the screen rather than at the thing in front of you.
Absolutely love it. And let's go one step further, Richie. Give me a wasabi one, boys and girls, as well.
Yeah. Give me a wasabi.
Dip back into the pot. All those wasabi fans out there, I know you're watching. Give us it. Wasabi thingy. What would you call it, though? Would you call it Stadia Handheld? Stadia Max? Stadia Pro Max? It needs to have some variation.
I would be leaning towards this being branded as a Google product rather than a Stadia product. So I'd probably lean into the Pixel line somehow. The Pixel Play or something.
Oh, Pixel Play. That could work. Stadia Go, I was thinking.
I also worry that Stadia Go could work. Pixel Go. That sounds like probably should already be a thing, actually.
Pixel Rangers.
There's two reasons why I'd lean towards Google branding rather than Stadia branding. One is my concept for this is it's more than just Stadia. And secondly, I think the Stadia name could be detrimental to marketing and sales efforts.
That is true. Yeah, they've not painted themselves well over the last 3 years for marketing. So yeah, attaching it might kind of lessen the product. We could have a Stadia.
You can have Stadia front and center in the marketing. It's basically it's going to be a Stadia thing. I'd have Stadia front and center. So he's someone playing Doom Eternal on this thing. He's someone playing Cyberpunk, etc., 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 etc.
And again,
using Stadia and all the demos everywhere you take it, it's all going to be running Stadia. But I can run Game Pass, I can run GeForce Now and stuff as well. It's got the Google Play library there, so Expandable memory you should have as well. Like,
yeah. And
if you're going to put a lot of memory in, just make it expandable.
Similar to the Founders Edition as well, you could have a Stadia edition of the Google Go or Google Play, whatever we want to call it. And you could have like your Stadia Red, Richie, and then the little logo there on the back. And that's like, I don't know, 20 quid extra. I don't know, you get some Play Store credit with it or some jazz like that. But realistically, I think there's a huge opportunity. I'd love them to kind of fill this gap in the market and watch it grow. And more importantly, it could be a great relaunch of what Stadia is and where it fits into Google's ecosystem by saying, look, we've got the Pixels, we've got the Chromebooks, we have Google Stadia, now embrace it with the kind of fresh relaunch and say it's been reworked for mobile, like travel, mobile gaming, and then now they've got the library as well. They can kind of relaunch it and say, all these AAA games, Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed, whatever it may be, play them on the go, on the phone, using the Stadia Go or the Pixel Play or whatever it's going to be called.
Reach out to NVIDIA, get a partnership going with NVIDIA. So you could have, as you said, you could have a Stadia variant one. You could have a GeForce Now variant one.
Yeah, you could. You could have an Xbox one. Cross that bridge.
Yeah, that one might be a bit. I think that one might be a bit more tricky. But there again, Microsoft be like, oh, we'll give you a green one.
and people are hungry for this stuff. Look at the Steam Deck. Look at Sony for some reason haven't gone back and made a successor to the PlayStation Vita for whatever reason. I don't know why all the competition are happy just letting Nintendo run away with this handheld division, because they're making sweet dollar off of this. Yeah. But I think we're onto something here, Richie.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something.
You get Sony on board, get PlayStation Plus cloud gaming in there as well.
I need to fix how it runs first, but yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sony need to do stuff on their end, but I'm not expecting to launch it this year.
So when you hear about it, you heard it, the Stadia Go, the Pixel Play, whatever it is, you need to come back here in the comments and say, you guys were right, then we can sue Google. Yeah.
Also in comments, what would you call this? What would you call this device? I want to know. I'm curious. Like, let's do the work for Stadia now by branding it for them.
Yeah, I do like our two names though. I do like our two names.
Yeah,
hashtag Stadia Go, hashtag Pixel Play.
Yeah. But that's all we have time for this week. If you've got a topic idea for you want us to discuss, let us know in the comments below or hit our Discord server. There's links in the description. And if you'd like to get episodes like this a whole week early, including Talking the PS, you can for as little as 99p by becoming a member. So thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Quest completed.